Hi everyone. We're about to run a Flint and Feather game. Lee's going to run me through it since he's one of the designers and knows it like the back of his hand. And I'm going to play the Wendat, known as the Huron to most people. And Lee will be running the Haudenosaunee, also known commonly as the Iroquois, but we'll refer to them by their proper names for the rest of the game. So we are recording this, and we'll be posting this on our YouTube channel, and it will then hopefully be instructive on helping you quickly learn the basic mechanics of the Flint and Feather game. So I guess, Lee, would you like to say anything to begin?
No, just welcome to our broadcast, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you can learn how to play the game.
All right. We are doing the very basic scenario from the book, Encounter in the Woods. So the description is 2 ravens.
It's on page 98 in the rulebook.
Is leading a great raid for the Wendat tribe. The Oki has anointed 2 ravens as a great warrior. He believes that a raid into the Haudenosaunee lands will bring glory for his warriors and spoils for the tribe. The Haudenosaunee great warrior, Grey Wolf, is hunting with his warriors. He has promised success and a glorious bounty for his friends and compatriots on the hunt. They have now been out in the wilderness hunting and fishing for the last several days. They've set out from their hunting camp in the morning to continue their foraging, and they have come across the raiding party of the Wendat. They are.
So this is from the starter box, then.
The
correct?
Starter box?
Yes.
Okay. Now it's slightly different from the map supplied, but we'll give you a rundown of what the table's looking like. So I'm going to switch scenes to the master of the table. We have basically a small clearing in the woods with a boggy section here.
So that swamp,
That's
considered difficult ground, and it's half speed moving through there, correct?
I believe so.
The other woods?
The rest of the woods, I think, is at the back from this patch here to the back, and on the corners as well.
So you're intending all that to be in woods? All that rock is in woods as well?
Yes,
So
I believe so, yeah.
So that would all be counted concealment as long as you're past that edge of the board.
Okay.
First Nations are not affected by woods.
Okay.
So the movement there would be normal
All right.
for them. Whereas if you're playing Flint and Feather Contact, any Europeans that would move through there would be considered difficult ground and would have to go half speed.
Okay.
But for the purposes of our game, it's counted as concealment, which is a -1 on shooting, and it's normal movement through all that area. Agreed?
All right. I agree. That sounds good. Okay, so attacker deployment. Since it is the Wendat who are raiding, the Huron Wendat warband rolls a d6 to see which edge they enter on.
Which we've rolled previously, and the Wendat have chosen which side, Bob?
Over here on my left.
So that's the Wendat.
That's the Wendat.
And the standard setup area is up to 6 inches onto the board on that side. So they've set up within 6 inches of the board edge.
It looks
like at this point they're in one group.
They are in one group. I've got them kind of organized just for the visual purposes. I'm going to switch camera. We've got 2 ravens, who's the great warrior who's leading this war party. And he's got a companion who's kind of a second in command. We've got Arrow Flies Fast. And then we have Veteran Warrior. And I was wondering about that, Lee. I don't recall hearing about Veteran Warrior. What's that as opposed to companion?
Veteran Warrior, the special about them is that they have a CV of 4, which is better than a regular Warbearer who would have a CV of 3. But they, unlike the Companion and the Warbearer, they don't get to choose their own card in close combat or choose their targets. they have to pick an attack and defense card randomly from the deck, whereas which is the same as a warbear, unlike the companion and great warrior who get to choose which card they want to use in close combat. So they're kind of a hybrid figure when you think of it that way. They give you a little bit more ability because they have that 4 instead of a 3, and what they do are everything at random, and they can't lead groups either.
Okay. This character who's standing off a bit is the warband's healer. His name's Silverdeer.
Yes.
The 4 guys behind in the second row are all warbearers, your standard, relatively experienced warrior. Am I correct?
Yep.
Behind them are 2 striplings who are new warriors, first time out. They need to be taught the ways of the game, of the war path, and hopefully brought back in one piece, because otherwise their aunties get very upset. Am I correct there?
That's correct.
Okay. So I think we're mostly set up right. We're keeping them within, what's the distance, Lee, that they have to stay if they want to be one group? They have to stay within each other?
The figures have to remain within 2 inches of somebody else in the group. So right now, the way you've got them set up would be one group.
Okay, so I'm going to...
The significance about the grouping is if you want to move move a couple of the figures so the bases actually touch.
Okay. Sure.
If you have them set up so that the bases actually touch, they would now, those 3 guys would be considered an easy target, and it would be a +1 for shooting against them. So you don't want to necessarily put them in contact with each other. So you're somewhere between that and 2 inches apart to maintain a group cohesion.
But keep a bit of space so you're not getting turned into a pincushion.
Unless you want them that way.
Unless you want. Well, is there any advantage to having them that way?
Well, you might have to have them that way in order to get into cover or concealment, where you have a smaller piece of terrain that you might want to be in cover or concealment in, or for instance, protecting a wall to maximize the number that you would have on the wall. You might want to put them in base-to-base contact. So once again, it's a player's choice for them to decide what they want to do and how, depending on the situation that they're involved in.
But since they're in one group at the moment, we number it as one group. When they break up, we can start numbering the groups further.
Sounds good.
I think that will help identify the groups on the table when we're talking about them and what they're doing. I guess we'll go over to the Haudenosaunee War Party, or the hunting party actually, and there they are. And we have the leader, Grey Wolf, who's the Great Warrior. His companion, first across the river. And also a veteran warrior, calls the Moose, this fellow here. They also have a healer, Red Antler, who's standing off to the side a little bit, but he's still within 2 inches. Healers, tell me a little bit about healers, Lee. Like, are they someone you want to keep out of the fighting? Okay, we'll look at the stats. We'll go to the Haudenosaunee stats, and we're talking about the healer is the 4th down on the left. Red Antler. He has a CV of 2.
And does it say knife? What's his weapons, Bob?
He has a knife.
Is that it?
Just a knife, that's it. His attributes are lucky, gets 1 free reroll per turn to be used at any time. He is wearing no armor, and he has no shield.
He only has a knife, so it's considered a secondary weapon, so you wouldn't necessarily want to have him in combat. because the other guy would get an extra die against him. And then the secondary, he has a CV of 2, which is on the low end of CVs, as you know, because you're looking for 2 or less to score a hit when you're in combat. So he isn't necessarily the greatest guy in combat. So you're correct by saying that. Then again, he still could fight. Use him as a secondary figure in combat as well. And then the other point would be that he has an HV, a healing value there. So he has a healing value of 4, which gives him a better chance to obviously remove, because he rolls for a 4 or less, removing wounds from his fellow warriors. So he's a little bit better at healing than the regular guys would be who use the battlefield medicine chart.
Okay. So
well, that's about healing.
Continuing on, there's the 4 warbearers, the backbone of this hunting party, and we have 2 more striplings. So both parties are pretty evenly matched. They more or less have the same composition for the purposes of this game. How's that? Are we good in deployment? Looks like we're just a little over 6 inches in. I think we can go with that and not worry too much. I'll number them again, since they're all in one party at the moment. And the Haudenosaunee get a red chit, and Wendat are going to be black chits.
Furs markers, you get 6 per game. They should be, I believe, they're 7 inches apart, minimum 10 inches from any board edge.
6 inches.
So they'll be kind of clustered around the middle of the board, all 4 sides given consideration.
Okay. So let's start. Now I'm going to use green chits with letters on them. We have models for furs markers, but they won't show up very well on this game. So I'm placing them.
Well, there's multiple things that count as victory points, but the first one is doing damage to your opponent, whether it be wounds, captures, or kills. Captures are actually more important than kills in the game, because again, going back to the period, they were interested in capturing particularly striplings, but pretty much any warriors to bring them back to the tribe. The young ones, they would get them to join the tribes with them.
Yeah.
And the other ones would be treated as trophies. Or they could get them to join. In our campaign game, it's a possibility that any of the figures join.
Historically, captured warriors were often intended to replace other warriors who were lost. So they would actually give them the choice. Go ahead.
It was considered part of their mourning rituals based around the loss of a family or a friend. The replacement would be to replace that lost family or friend. So it became a very important tradition to the tribes at the time.
Okay.
So that's why actually capturing figures is worth more victory points than killing them.
So you actually don't necessarily want to necessarily kill your enemy either, and probably capturing a stripling would be kind of the optimal goal, would it not?
Yeah, capturing a stripling is actually worth more points than anything else. And then the second thing is to capture the furs markers, because of course it was a hunter-gatherer, very poor in terms of resources society. So if they're finding stuff out here, and our furs markers represent traps, old traps,
caches of food,
caches, supplies that people dropped or had put there, planning on coming through the area again later or something.
Yeah.
So bringing those things back to the tribe again would be a significant find for the warriors and help improve their reputation. Okay. So that's why they're counted as victory points. And just to give you an example, I'll just go to the charts. Page 51 in the rule book, the victory level, a furs marker is worth 25 points, a captured great warrior is worth 100, a captured stripling is worth 50. So, just to give you an idea, a gory death, a killed great warrior is worth 50, whereas a fur marker is worth 25.
Okay.
So in terms of looking towards victory points, that 25 points would be...
we're looking at victory table here.
So just in terms of looking at the points, the furs markers can, depending on an even game, if you had collected more furs markers. Now, the reason for this in the terms of game design gives the players something to do besides just running forward and bashing the skulls of their enemies in. The furs markers could actually change your tactics during the game. Collecting furs markers you could end up breaking up your groups, and it changes the whole dynamic of the game.
Okay.
Or could change the dynamic of the game. So it brings an interesting level of competition into the game. So you would roll a die. You would roll a die to see who the active player is, and a low roll is good in this game. So a 1 would win you this activation roll.
All right.
Activation dice off.
I'll even use the black one for the Wendat because that's what their chits are on the table, and red for the Haudenosaunee.
Okay. So the 3 is the winner. So the Haudenosaunee will be the active player first.
Yes.
So that's me, correct?
That is you.
So on the quick reference charts, you're going to roll on the standard I'm going to roll on a standard activation. If you got the chart there.
Okay. We'll go to.
You want to roll the die?
So standard activation, and we're looking at the top left-hand side.
Yeah, right under the Flint and Feather quick reference sheet number 1, it says activation rolls, and we're using the middle group because we're at standard.
Yeah.
If your morale improves, you would go to inspired. If your morale is worse, demoralized. So you roll a d6.
Yeah.
And those are the groups that would be activated. Now we're only in one group, so it's not going to be too important this one because I can roll anything a 1 through 5 will activate everybody at this stage in the game. But it'll be more important later when we start breaking up into groups. So
okay.
You roll.
Here's your roll. You got a 1.
So that's all groups. Great roll later, but as I said. So I will roll a run move with everybody and run them forward.
How does the movement work?
With markers. So a run move is you roll 3d6 and you take the 2 highest.
Okay.
If you want to do a walk move, you roll 2d6 and you take the highest. There's also move cautiously, and women and children as well are on the quick reference chart there. A charge is considered a warrior's running. If you declare a charge, you're a warrior running, but your intention is to close combat. So that's the difference between a charge and a warrior's running. So we're rolling a warrior's running, so we'll take 3d6 and take the 2 highest dice. So roll 3 dice in there.
Okay. So
you rolled a 6, a 4, and a 1, so that'll give me 10 inches of movement because the 6 and the 4 are the 2 highest.
Okay.
No, that's fine where you are. So I'm going to break into 2 groups. So I've activated everybody.
Okay.
So for the rest of this turn, all my guys will be activated, whether I break them into 2 groups or not. The rest of my turn being my second action, which is going to come after you do a reaction.
Okay.
So I'm in my first action right now. So I'm going to break into 2 groups. So I would like my companion. Now they're all going to move the same because they started as one group. So everybody gets to move 10 inches or 0. That's my choice.
Okay.
So I'm going to send my companion 10 inches off towards that furs marker that's in the woods over there, which I can't see the letter of.
All right.
10 inches towards that. I'm going to go try and grab that furs marker. Which guy's my companion? First across the river is my companion.
First across the river. So he can go, he will be making a 10-inch move.
Yep.
And that places him right there.
So my understanding is with the game, you've got him. He's in the woods now.
Yeah, I think he is. Yes, we're saying kind of this is the line.
You should probably throw
a little bit of lichen across. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all woods behind there. And again, over on the other side, you got pretty good between your tree and the lichen.
Yeah, I think right here we're pretty clear.
Line. All right, so he's now considered in the woods over there. I don't know if 10 inches. He's probably right on the edge, isn't he?
He's right on the edge of the wood. Well, he's just into it. Yeah, I think.
Okay. So then send with him calls the moose, which is the veteran warrior with the bow.
Okay.
So he'll go 10 inches as well over that way. And then probably send Spring Leaf, who's a warbearer with the club and the shield, club down and the long thin shield.
Okay, Spring Leaf. And there he goes.
10 inches over that way. Okay, so the rest of the guys would like to go 10 inches forward towards you.
Following Grey Wolf.
Grey Wolf.
I'm going to place a number chit down on this second group now, because they are a second group.
Yep.
So 10 inches.
Oh, hold on a sec. I didn't see that first marker C there. So let's send one of the striflings over to get it.
Oh, okay. I think he can...
But just finish. You're going to finish that.
Okay. So you want to hold back one stripling. Looks like
he can run over there.
He can make it quite easily.
Okay. That's just considered woods there?
Yeah. So
there's no effect on their movement.
So there's your
main war group.
Your main war group, and I'm putting a number on the stripling who's just grabbed the furs marker C.
He hasn't grabbed it yet. He's got to spend the whole activation standing beside it.
Okay.
To pick it up. So he's moved to it. On his next action, he can pick it up, and that will be his full move.
All right.
Full next action.
So that would be the complete.
So that's my first. That's my first action completed. So now you get to react.
Okay.
So you actually haven't got anybody spotted yet, even though I'm running at you in the open.
Yeah.
So you can't actually react to anything at this point in time.
Okay. Now, did you do a spotting when we first started, or was?
No, I didn't. So I can't see you either, so I wouldn't be able to react to anything that you did.
Okay.
But I will probably do that now. Now you can't run and spot.
Okay.
So I ran, so therefore I wouldn't be able to spot. You either spot before you move or after you move.
Explain how the turns work. I don't know if you've done that yet, Lee. The two activations for or the two movements or actions for the main player during the turn, and then the reaction for the secondary player for that turn.
Okay, well, I'm the active player, so I'm going to get two actions, and then sandwiched in between that, you're going to get what we call a reaction. And action by enemy forces within 24 inches that have been successfully observed. It is not just a free action. So first off, you'd have to be within 24 inches to react.
Okay.
And as you said, we're either very close to that now.
We're just
we're over 20.
Just a little bit out.
Yeah. So basically, you couldn't react anyway.
Okay.
Because my guys aren't close enough. They're not considered as enough of a threat. We're just coming on to the board. Things haven't started to heat up yet, so you're not reacting as quickly as you should be.
Okay.
Or as in a combat situation, which you will be in a minute. So now will be my second action.
Okay.
So I'm going to do my second action. You're not going to be able to do anything.
All right. I can't even go get a furs marker or anything.
That's correct.
Okay.
I'm going to try and spot, my group number one is going to try and spot your group. So you're going to be in the open, so it's going to be a 5. So I need to roll one die for a 5 or less to be able to see you. And there's no modifiers. I don't know if
Sorry
What did you
about that. 6.
So I do not see you, even though you're standing there in the open. You're like keeping quiet and hugging the ground, so I don't know you're there.
We're creeping up on you.
Or I'm not too concerned about you, one of the two.
Okay.
So that being the case, obviously I can't charge you. I can still run towards you because even though the little men can't see you, as players, we know you're there.
Yeah.
So group number 2 will So everybody's activated that I had activated earlier. So you remember when I had you roll at the beginning of my turn for my activation, you rolled a 1,
Yeah.
which is all groups were activated. This is my second action. Everybody who was already activated can now do their second action.
Okay.
All my guys were activated because if you remember, I was all one group.
Yeah.
Way back then, 10 minutes ago. So everybody's activated. That's the first thing we check. Then we have to move one group at a time and complete that group before we move to the next group. So group number 2, I'm going to choose to move first. I will declare I'm moving group number 2. They're going to run towards that FERS marker.
Okay.
So roll 3d6 for me and take the 2 highest.
You're going to do it easily. You've got 11.
So a 6 and a 5 and a 4, so that's 11. So they're going to run over to the FERS marker, and they're all going to stand within contact of the FERS marker. So in their next action, which will probably be a reaction, they can pick up that FERS marker.
Okay. So
group number 1, who everybody's active, will run towards the woods to try and get some concealment over there.
So which woods are we talking about? These guys here?
Yeah, the big patch of woods that you've got
Okay.
placed so strategically in the middle of the board.
So they've got an 11-inch move. So there's.
No, they don't.
They don't?
No, they don't. They're a separate group from group number 2.
Okay.
They're their own group. They have to roll their own dice.
Ah, okay.
Whereas before, in the first action, they were all one group.
Right.
They all used the same dice roll. Now they're 2 different groups. So these guys could be even more motivated or could be not as motivated as group number 2. We never know. So we roll the dice.
Nothing is affected by Gray Wolf.
No,
Gray Wolf is fleet of foot, and he gets 1 + 1 d6 of movement.
You can use that.
Can you use that? Or does it affect his whole group, or does it just affect him?
Just affects him.
Okay.
So he would run away from everybody.
Yeah. You don't want to do that right now, I would assume.
Probably not.
Okay. So I'm rolling your 3 dice. And you got 2 3s and a 4. So you've
7 inches.
7-inch move.
They don't quite make it to the woods.
Don't quite, no.
And then the stripling, which is group 3, which is standing beside FERS marker C, has been standing there in base-to-base contact with the FERS marker.
Yeah.
So he can pick up the FERS marker.
All right.
Pick that up and put it on my side of the board as I've collected it. And that will be worth 25 points for me. Now, the way FERS markers work is once you've collected them, they can't be taken from you. They're considered, we just do that for ease of play. We don't have to track them or anything. You've got them. They're going to go home with your boys, whether they retreat off the table or whether they actually win the fight.
Okay.
So that's the way that works. So that's his whole second action. His whole turn is spent picking that up.
Okay. Packing it away.
Yep.
Tucking it in whatever it was. He's tucked it in his bindle and he's ready to leave with it.
That's correct. Second action is over. So you become the active player.
Okay.
And you have your group number 1. So you're all in one group. You need to roll on the activation table from the QRS there.
Okay.
For the standard activation. Remember, you're only in one group, so basically at this point in time, it's not going to matter. But you can see how I'm in 3 groups now. So next time I have to roll on that chart, maybe a little bit different.
Okay. So I'm just rolling.
Go ahead and roll.
So a 2. And on the activation table
all groups.
Is all groups.
Your standard.
So I can more or less do kind of a mirror image of what you did if I wanted to. What about my spotting? Should I be doing that?
Now, yes. So now you can declare that you want to spot.
Okay.
And then, so you're only allowed to spot from one, each group gets 1 spot.
Yeah.
And can spot 1 group. So you can spot at this point into whichever group of mine you want to try and get, which is probably number 1.
Okay.
Would give you the best chance at this point because they're running. The QRS chart has the body on it, I believe. Observation, yeah. Sorry, the target is in open, right?
Yeah.
To read it correctly. So 5 or less, and then observation modifiers beside it. Target is running +2.
So
we now become a 7 or less.
So we pretty well guarantee we've spotted you then.
Yeah.
So we have seen you running across our line of sight.
You can now do whatever you want based on what you've seen me, and oh, look at those guys running.
All right, so I'm rolling my movement then.
Well, so now you have to declare what you want to do. So I'm going to run towards the group I just spotted. So you'd have to start with that. You can break down into smaller groups like I did, but if that's your declared move, at least one guy has to do that.
All right.
You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
You kind of have to declare what, you could say I'm running towards that tree, you could say I'm running into the swamp, I'm running at group number 1, whatever it is that you want to do. I'm standing and firing my bows, I'm walking and firing my bows, whatever it is that you want to do, you declare that. And then at least one of your guys has to do that. And the rest of them, you can say, okay, well, these 2 guys are going to run over to the fur or whatever. Okay, I'm breaking my group. You're breaking your group into 2.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's enough information right now. Do you want to do that by walking or running?
We will walk.
Okay, so roll 2d6 and take the highest.
6.
Okay, so you can go 6 inches. So now you can move your 2 guys.
Okay.
Split the one group that you want to go one way off 6 inches one way, and the other guys the other way.
All right.
So there. Now you've got your 3 guys.
No,
that you
no,
want.
I'm not. I'm looking at my chart because I want to kind of determine. Well, basically, I've taken 2 warbearers and my veteran warbearer
In group,
and 1 stripling
group 1 now?
in group 1, and my companion. Spread them out a little bit. And the healer and a stripling and 2 warbearers in group 2.
Perfect.
And they've moved off in separate directions.
So that's your first action with those 2 groups.
Yeah.
You did walk, so you could shoot bows if you wanted to, which we could go through that.
Okay. Now, question.
You are allowed to walk and shoot bows. It's a -1 modifier. You cannot run and shoot bows, obviously.
Okay.
So you had a question?
Well, I know that the bow range, the long bow range, is 24 inches, correct?
Yeah, which I believe you're in now because we were just on the border of it.
Definitely in that zone.
And it's under 12 inches is good. It's short range and gives you a +1 on the damage modifier, but you're not at that at this point.
So I think I would like to shoot my bows
Okay.
at your
We need to-
running group.
So there's 2 different ways we can do it. Do you see a line of sight from your guys with the bows? Do they go through the woods or not? There is I see a little puff of light in there, but I don't know.
It is actually through the woods. I think we would hit, so maybe not.
So this is how we resolve it. Each guy's going to have a different line. So if that's the only one that's shooting that you're measuring right now, what happens is it's your choice, Bob. You have some guys over there that are in concealment and some that are not. Now remember, unless you're a great warrior or a companion shooting, you're not going to get to choose your target. It's going to go on a random figure over there.
Okay.
Okay, so that's important to consider. If you pay the -1 modifier for shooting through the woods, then you would be able to hit everybody in the group. If you don't pay the -1 modifier, you can only hit the guys that obviously aren't shooting through the woods, that you're shooting through the woods at.
Okay.
And it'll be a random figure in that group. Now, I would suggest that you probably don't take the concealment because you're already at a -1 because you walk. Okay?
Okay.
So if you walk and shoot at the guys in concealment, you'd be at a -2. You're going to put you down to a 1 on a D6 real quick.
Okay.
one of your guys is a stripling or a companion, then that may change. The stripling wouldn't be able to fire at all to the guys at concealment.
Yeah.
You following all this, or am I confusing you?
No, well, I'm going to rely on you to kind of help me with the final choice, but I think we're just going to shoot. It looks like this fellow has the one line of sight that isn't blocked.
Now, what is he?
And
He's stripling or
he is a stripling.
Okay, so he's going to be one of the guys you don't want to. He can't shoot the guys in concealment because he'd be -2.
Yeah. Well, he's not.
Make him a 0.
If he's targeting this fellow here, it's not
Right.
concealment. But
Can
actually,
he hit more than just one?
He's the only one who can really. Well, the guy behind him too, perhaps.
So you got 2 guys he could hit. So he's
Yeah.
going to be rolling for 1. Who's your other guy that's shooting?
Nobody else really, unless my
Who's the guy in the
companion.
lead?
The companion would be shooting through the woods at anybody.
So he's a better shot. So he starts at a 4.
Okay.
He'd be -1 for walking and minus another 1 for shooting in concealment would be -2. So he'll actually need a 1 or a 2.
Okay.
So I would roll a red die for him and a black die for the stripling.
Okay.
That's how I would play the game, just so we speed up the rolls. You see that?
Here we
You
go.
just declare which one you want to be which one, and the companion needs a 1 or a 2, and the stripling needs a 1.
Okay, stripling's on the black die. And it's a 6 and a 5, which I would assume are, since we're trying to be low,
Ooh, they miss.
they totally miss.
They probably went off a tree in the bushes there.
And we wasted
Now,
an arrow.
So now your group number 1 also walked. And do they have any foemen in there that you would like to fire? Because I'm going to bet that they're within range too.
They are in there and they're within range. Now, a technical question. This fellow with a bow here, this fellow, if he's going to shoot,
Yes.
he'd be shooting
Both of
through
them,
this guy right beside him. Is that a factor in the game or not?
Yes. Yes.
It is.
You're not allowed to shoot through your own friends.
Okay.
You can do damage because, as you can imagine, an arrow coming in there wouldn't care if the front guy ducked out of the way and it hit the guy behind him.
Yeah.
But you can't shoot through him because obviously he's in the way and he's not going to move out of your way.
Really, I have one guy who's got a clear shot.
So you can kind of shoot off to the side.
Yeah, and the one guy with the clear shot is the veteran
Well, there is-
warrior.
So there is no facing in this game either. So, like, for instance, I'm seeing that the guy in the back row, from my point of view, is pointing down he's pointing, exactly. So it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
And that's free, and you can do that anytime you want, as long as you're not picking him up and moving him 6 inches across the field to somewhere he's not at. But you did it perfectly. So you're shooting him. He's a regular warrior.
He's actually the veteran warrior with a CV of 4.
So he just starts with a 4, and he walked -1 will be a 3, and I'm assuming he's hitting everybody in the open.
He can reach everybody in the open there. Looks like.
And it's going to be the whole group.
Yeah.
So you need a 1, 2, or a 3, Bob.
And that's a 4.
4. So he misses.
He misses.
I believe that's your first.
Now your reaction is up next.
So my reaction. Now remember, I tried to spot you and couldn't. So I can't actually react because my guys don't think that you're any threat, and they're thinking all those guys are just on their own. Whatever their thought process is, we don't really consider you a threat and don't know that you're there yet.
Okay.
Okay? So I cannot react to your first action. So that means it's going to be your second action now. So going back to the concept, which is the reason why I kind of stress this point, is that players often have a hard time with this, is that you remembered you rolled your activation at the beginning of your turn. You rolled a 2, which was all groups are active.
Yeah.
And then you did your move. All those guys are active because you already activated them at the beginning of your first action. So you could do whatever you want with group 1s and 2. you have to do each group individually, and you complete a whole group before you actually do a second group.
Okay.
So which group would you like to move first?
I would like to move group 1.
And the point being that they're both still active, because, as I said, they activated a long time ago.
Yeah.
Okay, at the beginning of your turn. So group 1, what would you like to do with it?
I think we will run towards the swamp.
Okay, so you're going to run, so you're going to roll 3d6.
This swamp right here, see the A?
Yep.
There's looks like a FERS marker objective in there.
Yep.
But we will run in that direction. So,
right, so roll your run move.
Okay, 3 die, and I take the top, the highest 2.
Yep.
So
push them together. There you go.
That's
6 and a 1.
6 and a 1. So we'll get rid of the 1.
12 inches.
And it looks like we easily make it. Now,
so you only need one guy in contact with that FERS marker to pick it up.
Okay.
And then if you're moving into the swamp, remember you're half speed.
Okay.
So you would actually lose
So we're
half an
probably just on the edge of the swamp then.
Well, it's up to you. You can.
I guess one guy can. Well, it's 11 right to the objective marker, so we're going to let one of the warbearers land on the objective marker, and everybody else will just be grouped around.
Usually we don't go on the FERS markers because there's usually a figure there, but
yeah, in this case, doesn't matter.
In this case you can, because that's the way you play.
That's how I roll, baby. All right. And
so group 1 is done. You can't fire them
because they ran.
So you can't do any shooting with them, and you can't do any spotting because they ran. You could have spotted before you moved them, but you didn't declare that. So
no, I don't. Do I need to do spotting anymore? Because we already shot it.
The only group that you've spotted is my group number 1.
Ah, okay.
My group number 2,
so there are other groups to
3.
spot. I could be spotting your stripling or
Right.
Group number 2. I see. All right. I'm not going to worry about spotting for my group number 2. I'm just going to run towards the same woods that your group is running towards.
Okay. You're going to roll 3d6, take the 2 highest.
So the 2 highest are 3s. 3 and a 3.
6 inches. They're not sure they want to go over there.
They don't really get to the woods.
They've lost a little more enthusiasm than their other group.
Well, it's looking like things might get serious. And, you know, where's the great warrior when you need him?
He's off hunting furs.
He's busy gathering his own glory and not worrying about the danger at hand.
Well, you got to remember, he's got to pay all these guys for going out, so
yeah,
getting some furs markers is important to him.
Okay.
Because he's promised them some fur.
So, here we are. That's probably the end of my my turn.